I want to take a quick tour of what we're going to learn in these next couple of videos because we're going to learn some of the most basic fundamentals and the most important fundamentals. So just because they're basic, don't assume that you already know them. We're not going to learn how to like bold text here. We're going to learn things like page level, section level, character level, formatting, and why that's important. We're going to learn about styles, and we're going to learn about automatically creating tables of contents and works cited and using references and being able to change between APA and MLA and making it all work. So we're going to learn in headers and footers. We're going to learn about headers and footers. We're going to learn about all of that, and we're going to learn about it in the creation of a document. And I have a little bit of a warped sense of humor, maybe, right? And I'm also a fan of Stephen King. So I enjoyed that book, The Shining, and I just figured that if I'm going to just make up a bull crap paper, that I should probably use the text, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, and just have that be repeated over and over and over and over again. But you can see here that some of the things we're going to do is like page numbers, headers and footers, putting in pictures, formatting pictures, having these styles for headings, and then building the tables of contents, having a title page, having this centered vertically where this is vertically, having this aligned vertical center where this one is aligned vertical top, right? So that's all stuff we're going to look at. One of the things I really want to point out here is the zoom down at the bottom, because being able to get a high level view of your document is super important when you're trying to make a document look good, because you need to be able to step back and say, how does this all look together, right? I want to see how this all looks together. So this zoom thing is the takeaway, one of the main takeaways from this video, being able to do that zoom right there. So this is what we're going to create in the next couple of videos. The next thing I want to show you is how to switch between documents when you have multiple documents open. And I'm showing you this just because it's something I just ran into myself. Not that I ran into it and I don't know anything about it, but I was just like, oh, you should probably know about this, because I'm keeping track of this file here where I'm going to create this paper. But then if I go up to Window, I can also see all of the other Word documents that I currently have open. And one of the other documents I have open is a description of all these videos which I'm creating. And I wanted to come in and type in my description for that last video I created. So I had to go up here and choose Window and then go over to that paper. And now that I'm ready to come back and start looking at this paper we're going to create, I could go up to Window and go back to this other open paper and switch to that one. So that's a really useful thing to know about, just how do you go between multiple open Word documents when they're open at the same time. And the way you do it is right here with Window and those two things. The next useful thing I want to show you in using Microsoft Word is to create a new file, because we're going to be creating a new file. And to do that, and we need to get a whole bunch of text here to work with, to do that, to create a file, we go up to File, and we could choose New. And we have New from Template and New from Blank Document. And templates we're going to talk about later, because that's a really quick way that you could kind of download something that has already been created and just sort of fill in the blanks. And it'll save you a lot of work to use a template, but at the same time, sometimes templates have some disadvantages. So like I said, we're going to be talking about templates later. But what we're going to do now is we're going to create a new blank document. And before we do that, I just want to point out a really cool thing. And this was a revelation to me when I realized this, and probably, you know, a lot of people have already realized it, but for those who haven't, I just want to show, look at these little things over here on the side. What is this cryptic? What are these hieroglyphics here, right? What is that doing there? And if you look, that little freeway on-ramp, four-way freeway clover symbol, that's the command key on your Mac keyboard, and that's just to the left of the space board. And a lot of Mac keyboards have that symbol actually there. So if you push that, these are the shortcut keys that you would need to push in order to get this command to run. So you could either go up here to the drop-down menu and choose File, New Blank Document, and then just choose that right there. Or you could press that little command key on your keyboard and then N, and it should open a new document for you. You might think maybe I need to press Shift N because that's a capital N, but you don't. If you need to press Shift, it'll have that up arrow right there. So let's try creating a new blank document by going Command N. And I'm going to go Command N on my keyboard, and kabam, kabam, right there. I got a new blank document. Now, if you're thinking, wow, this is pretty rudimentary, and I'm going to just skip to the next videos, I'm going to show you something that probably you have not seen, and this is really pretty cool. So I hope you haven't left already, but if you're hearing this, you haven't. So good for you for staying. Look at this. I need to get some text, right? And I could go back to my open document, and now I've got 3 up there, and I want to have text to work with to create this document. and here's my new blank document. And I could create text by typing in equals rand, and then I could just enter some numbers here. And so the numbers are going to be, one is the number of paragraphs, and the other one, is like, the number of lines per paragraph. And quite frankly, I don't remember which is which. I mean, we could count them if we wanted to, but if you type this in, are you ready for some like emerald magic? I'm going to say kaboom when I do it. Kaboom! Right there. It just did all of that text. The quick brown fox jumps quickly over the lazy dog, or whatever the hell that saying is. So here I've created all that random text. I did that by typing in, and I'll show you that magic command once more by hitting undo, right? And then I'm going to zoom in with my zoom right here. I typed in equals rand and then just some random numbers. And, well, what the hell, for interesting sake, we could say like 3 and 5, and now we could see which is which. And it looks like I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences per paragraph, and I got 3 paragraphs. So this would be the number of paragraphs, and this would be the number of sentences per paragraph. But you type that in, and you hit enter, and it should generate some random text for you. If it doesn't, sometimes I've hit some computers where that doesn't work, and I just can't tell you why, but it should work. One other way to make random text, like I said, if that doesn't work, is all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So I could type that in, and then I could select all of that. And I'm going to hold down Command on my keyboard and A, but that got a little bit too much because I got this down here. So I'm going to select that, and then Command C on my keyboard, and then I could just hold down Command V for paste, right? And that's not such a great looking paragraph, but I could kind of bring some of these together, and there's a better looking paragraph. And then I'll just select that, and I could copy that a couple of times. And so now I could just hold down Command V to get that to work. So we've learned some really great things in this video, and here's a review for you. One is we could switch between open documents right here, right? So what documents are open, you could switch between them. 2, we've learned about keyboard shortcuts right here and how to create a new blank document, and we learned just a little bit about templates. And then 3, we learned about this really cool command that we could type in where it's equals rand, like 14, 17, whatever, and already I've forgotten which is which, right? But that will generate random text for us. And then 4, we learned about Command C for copy and Command V for paste, and you can see those right here. Command V would be paste, and if I had some text highlighted, I could do edit, Command copy right there. Command C, right, would be my copy. So those are some of the things we learned in this video, and we're going to learn some more great stuff here in just a moment. So I'm going to create some text on my document here, and I'm going to zoom way out. I'm going to use rand 57, where I'm going to create 50 paragraphs, and each paragraph will have 7 sentences in it. And so I'm going to just zoom out. Well, first of all, I'll make sure my cursor's at the end of that, and I'm going to zoom way out so we can watch the magic happen. I'm going to press enter. And it created all of that. I actually think I want my document to be just a little bit bigger, so I'm zooming back in. I'm going to highlight some of my document, and that looks good. And press Command C on my keyboard and Command V, and I just pasted some more in there. And once again, Command V, right? Command V. So you can see I've copied and pasted quite a large chunk of text, and every time I do that I get about 3 pages. So there, that looks really good. That's the document I'm going to be working with, the text I'm going to be working with. And I'm not going for the shining one on this, I'm going for the crazy brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, or whatever the heck that saying is. So this is what we're going to learn in this video. We've got our document set up to start working with what we want to do, and what we're going to learn about is the different levels of formatting. And so here's the very lowest level formatting. We have character level formatting, and character level formatting is a single character. And what that means is I could take a single character and I could come over here and I can make it bold, I can make it red, right? I could make it bigger if I wanted to. And so that's character level formatting. And the next level of formatting, so we have character level formatting. And so for those of you who are real visual learners, I guess heck, we could just put it right where I was at. Character level formatting, right? That's our first level of formatting, and I will sort of create its own paragraph. And that's a little bit too big, so I'm going to bring that down in size. And you just saw me sort of select all that pretty quickly. And I started selecting it, one way you could select it is like that. And another way you could select it is you could use your arrow keys on your keyboard. So I'm using my arrow keys on my keyboard, but then when I hold down Shift it starts highlighting. So I'm holding down Shift and using my arrow key. So I just hit the down arrow key there. And now that's highlighted, I could start formatting it. So character level formatting is the lowest level of formatting. The next level of formatting is paragraph level formatting. So we have paragraph level formatting, and this might be a little bit more clear if we make that smaller. So paragraph level formatting, and I'm just going to knock that down in size and do it black so we really see paragraph. And then to copy this formatting here, I like that formatting. I just highlight that formatting and I hit the format painter right here and I highlight over this, right? And basically took the formatting from here, like I dipped a paintbrush in it and it painted that formatting over here. And so I think that stands out a little bit more because we have character level formatting and we have paragraph level formatting. And don't worry too much about these little anecdote side tangent things I point out. We'll probably hit them again, but the main thing you're getting from this video is character level formatting. We could format a single character, right? Make it bigger, make it red or pink or whatever color we want. And the next thing we could do is paragraph level formatting. So paragraph level formatting is like, I want to format this whole paragraph. And if you go up to format, there's actually a format, right? Font would be pretty character level. Paragraph is paragraph level. And so you could do things to an entire paragraph. And some of the stuff you could do is listed right here, you know. So I could do like double spaced. And so when I do that, I could apply it to a single paragraph, and you can see a little preview of what that's going to look like. I could also do like a first line indent. But the main thing you're getting here is, and let me just zoom out a touch, the main thing you're getting here is I just did formatting on the paragraph level. So we have character level formatting, we have paragraph level formatting, and then we have section level formatting, and we have document level formatting. So I'm just going to come in here and type in section level formatting, and then the highest level is document level formatting. Document level formatting. And so what is a section? So here's my dilemma. I have my document, right? And there's the beginning of my document. And I wanted to be able to have different sections look a different way. So that's kind of what I want to do. So if I press enter right there, I just sort of broke that text, and then I just come over here and press enter again. And right there, I've clicked right there. I'm going to go up and choose insert break. And you'll notice that I have a page break, and there's something here called a column break, but now I have something called a section break. So I could do a section break next page, and continuous, odd page, even page. I'm going to do a section break next page, and it's okay if you don't totally grasp this just yet, but I'm showing you kind of what sections do. So I put in a section break right there, and I'm going to put in one more section break at the end of that break in text right there. So insert break, section break. And so now in here I have a new section, and I could see that if I go to view and I choose instead of going outline, I could go to draft, and when I go in and I look at my draft level right here, it shows me I have a section break and I have a section break, right? And this is a new section right there. So I'm going to go back to my print layout view, and in here I'm going to change my page setup. And again, if you're kind of like, wow, okay, you're doing a lot of stuff, I'm not totally following it. The main thing you need to be following from this video, and because I am covering a lot of different little steps, the main thing you need to get from this video is this right here. There's character level formatting, paragraph level formatting, section level formatting, and document level formatting. And what I'm pointing out right now is section level formatting. And I'm showing you, why do we need sections? And because when we have different sections of a document, we could do stuff like this, right? So the important thing isn't orientation. That's such a bad representation of it. The important thing isn't to understand all the little clicks that I just did, but the important thing is for you to sort of grasp, like, when I have different sections, I can apply different formatting to them. And so here, this section, this is one section, it is all laid out in a portrait mode. Here, this section is laid out in a landscape mode. Here, this section is laid out, again, all the way to the end. This section goes all the way to the end. That's laid out in a portrait mode. And so having different sections allows me to apply different formatting to different areas of my document. I could do character level formatting. I could do paragraph level formatting. I could do section level formatting, right, where I could say, hey, just change the way this one section is working. And I could also do whole document level formatting, where I change everything in the document. And so understanding this concept is really pretty essential to using Word, because if you understand that, oh, okay, I could have different sections in my document, that really allows you to start taking, one page and making it slightly different. And we're going to use this in the next video where we create the title page. We'll see how to create the title page so that's different from the rest of the pages, and we'll do that by using sections. So I want to save my document, then I want to clean this document up and kind of get rid of some of the changes I did just to illustrate sections in the last video. And then I'm going to create a title page. So there's 3 things I'm going to show you in this video. 1 is saving the document, 2 is cleaning the document up, and then 3 is creating that title page. So to save a document, it's pretty much the standard thing that you do in any program. You've got this disk icon, which is still a floppy disk, even though people haven't used floppy disks in forever. So you could hit that floppy disk, or you could just come up here to the File menu and choose Save or Save As. And here you could also see the shortcut keys for doing that, Command S or Shift Command S for Save As. And what's the difference between Save and Save As? Well, the first time you save a document, it's going to launch Save As, right? So, and Save As just means that, oh, I could create another copy of the document I'm already working with. So some people use Save As a way of doing version control on their documents, meaning, okay, here's file version 1, and then they save that, and then they think I want to change it, and they go back and they go up to File Save As, and they call it file version 2. But I'm gonna call this one, what am I going to call it? I'm going to call it, Great Paper. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to hit Save, and there we go. And I'm actually going to save this one more time, and to do that I'm going to go Save As. I'm going to call it Great Paper 01 because I realized I didn't save it last time, and I want to put a copy of this up for you to download at each of the different stages. So this is going to be the second stage, Great Paper 01. And that would be like my second version. Alright, so I've saved my document. Now I want to clean it up. I want to get rid of this section here. So I'm just going to highlight basically everything from there to there. And I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard. And that just got rid of it. And if I went again to view, draft layout, or draft view, I could look through here and I'm not going to see those section breaks anymore. So when I deleted that stuff, those section breaks went away. Alternatively, if I was still in print layout, just for hoots and hollers, right, there I am. And I had that section in there. If I went to view, draft view, and I did see those section breaks, I could manually come in here and sort of get my cursor like right in front of it, and then just sort of try to backspace until that thing disappears. And strangely enough, it's not. There we go. I actually had to select it. So Word's a little bit finicky. And so I start my cursor right there and then use my arrow key and I selected it, and now if I hit backspace it's all selected. Right, and now I got rid of that section break. I'm going to hit Command Z on my keyboard to undo that once more. And when I was trying to delete it before, I was just going like this, and it's just passing over it, right? You can see I just kind of passed over it. And so that's the thing with Word, is like sometimes it doesn't always work the way you might want it to or think, and then you just kind of got to keep working with it until you get it to do what you want. So I held down Shift and arrow key, and I just sort of arrowed over it, and then I hit backspace, delete, and it got rid of it. So that's another way I could have gotten rid of that section break and cleaned up my document. So that section break's out of there. Now I want to clean this up. So I'm going to zoom in up there on the top, and again I could just highlight all this, and I'm going like past it, over to here and then to there. If I just went to like right here and started deleting, it might be possible that I would leave some of the formatting there and delete, and then when I started typing, whoa, it's coming out the wrong color. But if I start in the formatting that I kind of want it to end up as and delete from there and go into formatting, now when I type, right, kind of kept it. So those are just, again, some of those things about Word which takes some getting used to. And I'm going to get rid of that paragraph there too. So I just kind of got rid of any of the text which was different. And now I'm going to save my document because I'm working on it, and it's good to continue saving your document as you work. And this is Great Paper 01, and I want to create a title page. So to create a title page, I'm going to have a different section. And the reason I need a different section is because here in my paper, right, I've got, here this stuff is centered. The alignment, the vertical alignment is center. So that's the way you'd say that. The vertical alignment is in the center of the page. And here the vertical alignment is the top of the page. So this is really two different sections where formatting is different. And so I need a new section. And to do that, I go up to Window, go up to my document, And I'm going to just click right here. I'm at the very top of my document, and you can see that if I scroll out. I'm right at the very top left corner of my document. And I'm going to choose Insert Break, Section Break, Next Page. And there's my new section. I could come up here to the first page. And right now I don't see anything on the first page, but if I type, now I have some text. And if I look under View, Draft, right, I can see that section break is right there. So I could go back to View, Print Layout, and I'm in this section. So now I could go up to Format, and I have Document Format here. And this is kind of odd because you might think, oh, okay, you're going to be applying this to the document, but actually I'm going to be applying this to the section. But you find it under Document. And in Microsoft Word on Windows, you find what I'm looking for here under Page Setup. But on the Mac, you go to Format Document, and what I want to do is I want to change that vertical alignment to center. And here we have Vertical Alignment Center. And I could apply it to the whole document, which would be document level formatting, or I could apply it to this section. So I'm going to make sure it's applied to this section, Vertical Alignment Center, and I'm going to hit OK. And so you can see that that just took that into the center. And in fact, if I came over here and I inserted a page break, not a section break, but just a page break, right, you can see this text here is on a page by itself, and it's still, the vertical alignment is top. So we have two different sections there, this one with vertical alignment center and this one vertical alignment top. If we check that, Format Document, Vertical Alignment Center is on that one. And if we check this one, click over here, Format Document, Vertical Alignment is top right there. And so two different sections. So now I've got that in the center. I could also put this over into the Horizontal Alignment Center. Right, so here I have Horizontal Alignment Center, Vertical Alignment Center, and that's right in the middle of my document. There's one thing I really like which is helpful, which is not on the home ribbon. This is where you would find it in the Windows version, but up here on that, if you this thing here shows, and you can see the tooltip, show all non-printing characters, and I click that, and I could see again now some of that stuff that I was seeing before when I went into the View Draft, and I could see, oh great, you know, that's where my section is, and I could come in there and I could start typing. And I could call this, theories on exposition or whatever, and then hit it by Todd McLeod. There we go. And you can see these little backward P's. Those are the return characters. I'm going to add one more in there. And then I could zoom back out. And so there's my title page, a really simple title page. Of course, you could do these fancy title pages, which we'll see later, but that's the simple title page. So you can stop watching this video at this point if you got it. However, I'm going to do a brief review here of what we took a look at because I feel like maybe we covered quite a lot of stuff. The first thing we saw was how do we actually save our document, and there's save and save as, and we saw that people will save their documents, right, with save as sometimes as version control. So maybe I want to, create another copy here, and I could go in and I could call that one Great Paper 02. And now in my file directory, I've got Great Paper, Great Paper 01, Great Paper 02. So I'm keeping track of versions there, and I'm doing that with file save as and save as I keep going. And every time I want a new version, I just go save as. And first I'd save it where it's at and then do save as and create a new version. So that's the first thing we saw. The second thing we saw was how to clean up the document. And in cleaning up the document, we really kind of were taking a look at working with print layout versus draft again and going between the two of those. And in cleaning up the document, we'll also find that turning this non-printing character thing on and off is also really helpful for kind of seeing what's going on in the document and where do we have to move our cursor to kind of get things to go away or to change the way we want them to change. We also saw that I was using that technique of holding down the Shift key, right, and my arrow keys to sort of select the things I wanted, and also just sort of playing with it to get that section page break to go away. So that's the second thing we saw. And then the third thing we saw was we actually inserted a new section at the beginning of our document, and then we went in and we changed our vertical alignment to center, and we did that with Format Document, and we applied that to the section. So that's a little bit of a review of what we went through. You learned some really amazing, great things in this video. I know I talk fast in these videos. I like to keep it interesting, but I also try to really make sure that I reinforce the main points of what you should be getting out of each video and provide it in a way where, now I'm just giving my theory on how I teach, provide it in a way in which, you know, if you got it, great, you're done. You can move on, and if not, here's a little bit of a review to make sure you're really getting the concepts. So I just want to illustrate for you that I'm looking out for your best interest, and this is something that's tried and tested and true with many students that I've found has worked really well. So forward and onward, we're going to learn some more great stuff about making our document in the next couple of videos. So I really like trying to keep things practical and hands-on and really show you how I use Microsoft Word and how it can be used, you know, in a very concrete, applicable way. And so I just want to illustrate that by showing you how I'm actually using Microsoft Word right now. And I'm keeping track of the files that I'm going to show you in these videos, and also so that you could download them when you watch these. And you can see I'm numbering all of my lectures, 0, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. Here's the first paper associated with it. And I was calling these Great Paper 01, Great Paper 02, I think. And I've changed those to 08 Great Paper to be associated with this 8th lecture, and 09 Great Paper to be associated with the 9th lecture, and 10 Great Paper to be associated with the 10th lecture. And so now that I'm starting this 11th lecture and working on the 11th lecture, I'm going to click Save to save 10 Great Paper where it's at right now. And then I'm going to go up to File, Save As, and I'm going to make this number 11 Great Paper. Right? And so now, since I'm working on this 11th lecture video, in here I have 11 Great Paper, and when I upload the 11th lecture video, I'll be able to also upload the 11th Great Paper, so that this paper that I'm working on at this very moment will be the paper you download from anywhere in the world, wherever you happen to be. You'll download this paper and see the exact changes that I've made during this one video. And so that's how I'm using Microsoft Word right now. And it's a little bit of this rudimentary version control. Of course, there's more complex version control out there like Git and GitHub. But this method of version control of creating files and then just changing the names on the files is still a very practical, applicable, simple way to keep track of your changes in documents. Okay, so the main thing I want to show you, that's definitely valuable what I just showed you, but the main thing I want to show you in this video is our styles. And I'm first going to show you how to apply styles, and then I will show you the benefits of styles. So here's this second page. I'm going to highlight all that, and I'm going to turn on my non-printing characters, just to make sure I didn't highlight the page break. And I actually highlighted a return character there, which I don't want to also include. So I'm going to reselect, and it just keeps grabbing that return character. So I'll start with my cursor right in front of that return character, hold down Shift, and I know this gets pretty granular, but this is really how you end up working with Microsoft Word. Hold down Shift, and I've selected everything. Dang, it grabbed it again. So I'm just going to click right there and go right up. Dang it. Grabbed it again. I'm going to click right there and go right up to almost the end. And right there I'm going to stop. And first I'm going to zoom in and just point out, you see these little dots? Those are spaces. So if you're ever wondering, what are those little dots? That's what they are. 2 spaces right there, 1 space, 1 space, 1 space. So if you're ever uncertain, how many spaces are between that word? Non-printing characters, and then take a look, how many spaces are there? All right, so I'm just going to hit delete and get rid of that and keep going backwards. And go all the way to the T, and table of contents goes here. So we're going to create our table of contents in a couple of videos, and it's automatically going to be generated for us, and it's going to be generated off of our styles. So we're going to create headings, and those headings are going to be, here we have styles, those headings are going to be heading 1. And when we create our table of contents, we'll say, hey, everything that's heading 1, go ahead and make a table of contents out of all that stuff and show us what pages those are on. So now, to create our first heading, I'm going to be right here at the beginning of my document. Here's my title page. Here's where my table of contents goes. At the beginning of my document, right here, I'm going to press Enter, and I'm going to zoom in on that. And I'm going to type in, what would you, introduction, right? And I'll just make it all lowercase. There we go, and I'm going to highlight that and apply heading 1 to it. And so it gave it some formatting. And then a little bit further down my document, like say maybe right here, I'll press enter and press enter again. I'll type hypothesis or whatever the heck you might want to type in your document. and I'll highlight that and I'll give it a heading 1. And then over here, I'll type research, and then I'll highlight that and I'll give it a heading 1. Now the cool thing about styles, a couple of cool things about styles, is one, they're called style because they give your document style. So here you can see, oh, my document's got a little style, right? And so that's why they're called styles. And one of the cool things about them is we can now generate a table of contents automatically off of our styles. Right? So you can see this is page 3, this is page 4. I'm just going to preview that really quickly for you because it's such an awesome feature, and then we'll look at it again and look at the nuances of it. But if I was ready to create a table of contents, I would go to right here on the document elements, right here on document elements, I have table of contents. And you can see here, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, it shows you kind of what is it going to look like. And I could hit this drop down arrow right there to see a few more looks of what my table of contents will look like. I'm just going to go with classic and choose that. And it built a table of contents for me. And this is a really smart feature because here I have, different pages. But what if I added in a whole bunch of text here? So I'm highlighting that, Command C, Command V, 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 V. And you can see I just moved this to the next page. This is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is on page 5. But if I look at my table of contents, it shows that research is on 4. Well, old school ways, I'd have to come in here and change that to 5. New school ways, I just click here, click there, and choose Update Table, and update page numbers, update entire table, go for it, whole table. Now it shows me 5. So it automatically keeps my table of contents updated. So we're talking about styles though, and we'll get back to table of contents. So I'm going to get that table of contents out of there and just hit undo a couple of times until it disappears. There we go, my table of contents is gone. And the other cool thing, I said there's 2 cool things about styles. The other cool thing about styles is that you're able to edit your styles so that, like, what if I had like a 3 gazillion page document with quadrillions of headings and my boss said I want them all to be red. I would then have to go through, if I wasn't using styles, I'd have to go through and be like, okay, make this one red. And then I'd have to do that to each of them. But with styles, I could do that much more quickly. I could just change the way all of my styles are formatted. And the way I do that is I come up here and if you hold your mouse over that, you'll see that there's this thing, manage the styles that are used in this document. So I'm going to click that, and here's heading 1. And now if I start looking around in here, there's a way that I can edit that. And I click right there, heading 1's already been selected, and I choose Modify Style. And I could come in here and I could change the settings. So I wanted to change the color. So I just look around in here. Is there something for color? And right there is for color. I can make it red. And I could automatically update and add it to the template. And there's even more options here if I wanted to change even more stuff about all this. And it tells me what's being applied to this one style right here. And I hit OK. And you see that it updated all of my heading 1s to red. And so it's a really quick way when you sort of apply styles to different areas of your document to control what's the look of each one of those styles. And using styles is the important thing that you need to get from this video. So that's the main content of this video. And if you want to stick around for the review, the main things that we're looking at here, this is the review, so if you've already got it, feel free to go on. The main thing that we're looking at in this video is styles, and how do we use styles. And right here we're going to use them. We could have used for all kinds of different ones, but you just type in something and click on it, and then you apply, like here I've clicked on quick, and you just apply whatever style you want to it. It could be part of a sentence, part of a paragraph, or it could be standing on its own. And then by using styles, right, we're able to go in and apply. I'm going to hit undo on that one. We're able to go in and change our styles and edit them so that the overall document, right, all the things in the document that have been applied to that style change in every single location. And you'll see here we have the normal style, right? The normal style is just the normal text. And if I wanted to change that style, modify this style, right? If I wanted to make that normal style, make it, I don't know, bold, right? You can see all of that text on my page just went bold. So that's where I could do like global changes to all of my text. So styles are really a pretty cool, powerful thing. Again, just to illustrate how I'm using Microsoft Word, now that I'm making the 12th lecture video in this series of lectures on Microsoft Word, I've created and used Save As to make this the 12th document that we're working with. And the first thing I want to do, this video, what we're going to learn in this video is we're going to create that table of contents and sort of explore working with that and just look at it again. And I know I sometimes do this reiteration thing where I show you something and I show it to you again. But again, this is part of my teaching technique because I kind of have the philosophy that if you really want something, it's kind of like, I think of this like as my dog's philosophy of learning. Because if you really want something to stick, you need to roll around in it. If you want something to stick, you got to roll around in it, and that's really kind of, that's what my dogs do, and it works for them. And so, you know, by rolling around in the same stuff over and over, it really starts to stick. And so we already saw table of contents, and we're going to see it again. And the first thing I want to do, though, to do it is I need to get all of my headings in here, and I'm going to change my headings to not be red. I'll leave them as black. So to do that, I just click on my heading, come back over here, and again we're seeing something again. I'm going to modify that heading. And then I'll come in here and I'll change the text to automatic, and that's great. And now everything went back to black, and that's the way I want it, so I could get rid of this little call out pane thing. So I have my introduction, I have my hypothesis. I'm going to go through and create a few more of these headings at the end of this, but first I'm just going to show you again that creation of the table of contents. So I'm going to zoom in right up there, and I'm going to take out table of contents goes here, and I'm going to be careful not to go too far. I've got one character left to delete. And I'm just going to get that one guy and stop, because if I went further, I might blow out my section break, and then I'd have to fix my title page and this document coming back together. And of course, the quickest thing I'd try if I did that would be to do undo. I'd just try undo if I accidentally went too far. So now I'm going to create my table of contents, and once again we do that. We go to Document, Elements, and we have a couple of different table of contents here. I'm just going to go for the most simple one. And I was just checking to see what that did right there. The little grab handle grabbed my attention. And so there's my table of contents. And you saw me before click right here, and then I had a few options. We had Update Table, Remove Table of Contents. So we use Update Table just like we already saw in the previous video. We use Update Table if like our document has changed. I went a little bit too far there. And so let's say that, you know, I added some more stuff on the introduction, some more text. So hypothesis just got bumped to the next page. Research got bumped to the next page. But then I'll bump research on even further. So research is a couple of pages over now. And now I need to update this so that it accurately reflects, you know, what page everything is on. And so I'll click right there and choose Update Table, and update the entire table or page numbers. If I just did page numbers, it wouldn't search for any new heading ones that are out there. So I always just do that one. And now my page numbers updated. So I'm going to take a second here and add in a few more headings, and we'll see that change. So I've added in a few more headings. Now I'm going to come in here, and first I'm going to just try Update Table and update page numbers only. And it didn't pick up anything new, but this time if I go and I choose Update Table and Update Entire Table, it picked up my new headings that I'd added in and the page numbers that they're on. So table of contents is a really great, quick way to make your document look professional, and using styles for your headings. And you'll notice when we created the table of contents, it's built off of heading 1, heading 2, and heading 3. So we could have even built it off of that, right? We could have added heading 2s and heading 3s, and it would have built off of that. So yeah, you know, creating a table of contents builds off of your headings, and then it updates really quickly. You will notice here you also have the update thing, but you also have options. And if you click on options, it gives you this dialog box where you can come in and say, I don't want to show the page numbers, or don't right align the page numbers, or you know, you could start doing different options here. Don't include heading 2, heading 3, or instead of periods, I want a solid line, right? So you have a few more options there, which is really good to know about when you click on the options button there. And then when you're ready to close this, you just hit OK. It threw me for a little bit of a loop. I was looking for the red X right there, but no red X. There we go. OK. And so that's, do you want to replace the selected table of contents? No. There we go. All right, so that's a table of contents, and I accidentally got another one thrown in right there, so I'm just going to hit undo. Again, just sort of keeping you in the loop of how I'm using Microsoft Word in the moment. In this last video, we were working on video 12. This is video 13. So I'm done with this version of the document, so I save it. And I want a version of the document to correspond with this video, so I go to Save As. And I'm changing this one to 13. And what we're going to learn about in this video is creating references. right? And citing sources. So if we have some source of information, a quote, we don't want to be accused of plagiarism. So we just want to make sure we cite all of the resources of everything we quote and cite and create some sort of bibliography, works cited. And so that's what we're going to learn in this video. And there are some amazing, powerful techniques that Microsoft has to really help you manage your resources. And this is something right here under Document Elements. We've already looked at Table of Contents and we saw Update. And by the way, if you cut out of that last video early, I hit this right at the end, the options for your Table of Contents. So I'm just going to hit Cancel so I don't get another one. But those options will allow you to configure how your tables of contents come in. All right, so what we're going to learn about here are references. And you'll see here we got APA, Chicago, MLA, whatever that is. Taliban formatting, right? But in the Windows version, there's even more options. But I think this is totally sufficient. APA, Chicago, MLA, and that was something I always hated when I had to sort or reference or cite something. Was like, oh my gosh, how do I actually get the reference into the format that I want it to be? So let's say I'm on the web and I find something I want to cite, and I don't know what it might be. Let's just go with surfing wiki, and because I'm a long ways from the ocean. So here's a Wikipedia about surfing, and I want to put this quote into my paper. And so there's my quote. Command C, I just copy it. Now if I bring this over, and this is just a nice little tangent anecdote, if I bring this over to Microsoft Word, when I paste it, one of the options I have, another source says this about surfing. Right? You got to cite everything. So I'm going to put it right between the quotes. And one of the options I have for pasting is paste special. So I have paste and then paste special. And under paste special, I could come in as HTML format or unformatted text. Watch what happens if I just come in and do a normal edit paste. And here, Command V is the shortcut, right? And normal paste, it brought in these hyperlinks. So I have hyperlinks in here, I have formatting in here. I don't really want that. So I could have gone edit paste special, or after I've pasted, often this little funny thing right here comes up, whatever the heck that's called, and I could choose paste options, and I could say keep text only right there. So now I just kept the text. All those links, all that formatting is gone. I have this paragraph in here, which notice I just hit a return because the paragraphs are all jammed together. We'll fix that in a second in one of the future videos. But I've got to cite that now. And to cite that, I come back under Document Elements and I choose Manage right here. I want to manage, view a list of all sources cited in the document. I want to manage my sources cited in the document. And I click that button and my citations come up, and I can click this plus sign to add a citation. And I know you might be thinking, wow, that's just a lot of stuff to do right there, but it's all really pretty simple. Under Document Elements, you just go to References and you want to manage your references right there. And then what do? You want to add one. So it's not really all that bad. So I add my reference, and what kind is it? Is it a book? Is it an article in a journal? No, it's a website. So I click Website right there, and I'm going to take a second to fill all this out. And so now I've entered sort of all the different little fields, and you can see some of the fields have asterisks next to them, which is a recommended field, bibliography fields for the APA recommended. And so I made sure I filled out all of those, and you could just kind of pause the video if you want and take a look at it. But then I hit OK, and I've got that source right there, and it put the source in right here, Wikipedia 2014. What if all of a sudden my teacher says, hey, I don't want APA, I don't know what you're thinking, I want Taliban, right? And I click that. I guess Taliban is exactly the same. What about if I want MLA? And you'll notice the MLA changed, right? Now it's giving me the MLA format, or Chicago, and that changed, or back to APA, and that changed. So whatever format I'm asked for to put this in, I no longer have to worry about, like, how do I format that? I just enter my stuff, and I come in here and I choose whichever one is needed. So I'm going to add a few more resources in here. I'm going to go and find a book, and let's say this is kind of, no, it's not a quote actually from Stephen King. I thought I had that one about all work, and if I was using the other quote, it'd be this. If I was using the other quote, it would be this. Right, and now I need to cite that because Stephen King said that, and it's going to be a book citation, so I'm going to add one more in here, and I'm going to choose book, and now I'm going to take a second to fill this out. So my information is absolutely not correct in here, other than the author was Stephen King, the title was Shining, and I just made this stuff up right there. But there's my source right there, and I can continue to add sources. So and I could also use these sources. So let's say that this was also a quote from The Shining right here, and I could just come in there and I could say right here and double click, and there it added it in right there. Or let's say I had one more quote from Wikipedia, you know, like this right here. There we go. I could come back over here and I could add that quote in and do an edit paste special, which would be Control Command V. So let's try that. I'm going to hold down Control Command V, and it asks me paste special, unformatted text. And then I want to quote that one right here, and I could double click that and it puts that in. And so that's how I'm inserting my my sources for my citations for, you know, creating my references in my document. In the next video we'll see how to create the bibliography. We're going to look at inserting page numbers in this video, but before we do that, I just want to take a moment and point out that even though we're creating a paper here, that everything we're learning in creating this paper, these are skills that are transferable and applicable and, you know, essential to creating any type of a document in Microsoft Word. So even though we're creating a paper, if you were creating a report for business or writing a novel, like what you're learning here isn't just strictly, you know, for creating a paper. It's absolutely like these are the essential skills you need for creating any type of Word document. I mean, you probably see that, but I just wanted to point that out. All right, so how do we insert page numbers? There's many ways we could do that, or at least two ways. And one of the ways we could do that is right here. We could just hit page number, or we could go up to insert and we could choose page numbers. And I just want to take a moment and point out that using Microsoft Word is like using any piece of software, in that sometimes you hit funny things which don't quite work the way you want it to work, and you have to take a moment to sort of bang around and how do I get this to do what I want it to do? And this is particularly true with Microsoft products on Apple products, right? So Microsoft running on a Mac, it isn't like Microsoft running on a Windows environment, which is also written by Microsoft. And you're kind of like the second-class citizen to Microsoft since you're on a Mac. And so they don't build their software to be quite as robust or as awesome as if you were on Windows. And that's fine, you know, whatever, Microsoft. But you know, so this is one of the things, like page numbers work a little bit funny in here. And I'm just going to click this to insert a page number. And the first thing I have is where do I want it? So I could choose top of page or bottom of page. And I could choose left, right, center, inside, outside. I'm going to stick with right. You could play with those options if you want to see what they do. And do I want to show a number on the first page? I don't. And if I click format, I have a few more options. So I could choose the way it looks, and of course numbers would be what I'd think of. You could also have these letters or those symbols. And then there's something in here about including chapter number. Again, you could sort of play with this if you want to, you know, try to see what that does. And here's an example of that. And then we have this down here, continue from previous section. So what this means is as I cross sections, do I want the counting to restart? And it's not like you could turn that off. You either have this option or that option. So yeah, we'll just leave that on and we'll hit OK. And we don't want it on the first page. We'll hit OK again. And now oddly, it put it on the first page. And you can see that right here, but it didn't put it on the second page. I'm going to hit undo, and then I'm going to click right on this page here so you can see I've that highlighted. And I'm going to hit this again, and don't show it on the first page, and just hit OK. And again, it kind of did that. Well, you know, strangely enough, sometimes it will put it on this page and sometimes it won't. So I don't know what that is, but the way you kind of work with this is just to kind of like turn it on and turn it off and undo and redo to try to get it to work the way you want it to work. Maybe the best way that you could work with it is to learn about headers and footers. And we're going to see that in the next video. And we'll see how knowing about headers and footers, which I just went into my headers and footers right here. And so the header is everything at the top of the document, the footer is everything at the bottom. Knowing about headers and footers really kind of helps you get anything into your header and your footer, including page numbers, much more easily than just using this automatic command, which can be a little bit buggy. So there are a couple of essential things you need to know about headers and footers, particularly when working on the Mac. So the first thing you need to know about headers and footers is if you go to the document element ribbon, these are called ribbons here, I haven't said that yet in this course, but if you go to the document element ribbon and you look under the header and footer, you think, oh great, that's where I go to header and footer. But really they just have some really crappy, lame little template examples that you don't want to use. And you might be like, well, how the hell do I get into my header and footer? You think there'd be a choice right here like enter header and footer. And in Word on Windows, and sorry to keep mentioning this, but mostly I'm doing it so you understand like, okay, there's differences between the Mac version of Word and the Windows version of Word, and that if you go over to Windows ever, you know, for whatever reason, you'll have different options. Sometimes there'll be a little thing you could click right in the corner there, a little notation, just almost like this is a little notation in the corner, and that'll bring up more options. It doesn't in the Mac. So how do you get into your headers and footers? Well, maybe under View, Header and Footers, that's where we'll find it, right? So we could view our header and our footer. And I might have also thought that that might reside under Insert Header and Footer, but it's because you want to insert a header or footer, but here's a View Header and Footer. So like I said in the last video, your header and your footer is up here. Well, your header is at the top, your footer is at the bottom. And one of the most important things you want to know about headers and footers is you have this thing right here that says same as previous. And you'll notice when I brought up my header and footer, I got this header and footer ribbon. It showed up here. So that goes away if I don't have my header and footer showing. But if I have my header and footer showing, and I'm going to double click up here in the header area to get my header and footer to show up again, that ribbon shows back up. And so here in my header and footer, I start to have some options. Right? And one of my options, right here I have same as previous. So this is something that, let me just demonstrate how this works. I have section 1, I have section 2, and then if I go to the end of my document, section 2 goes all the way to the end of my document. So we've learned that I could format my sections differently. I have a section 1 here and I have a section 2 here. So my section 2 says it's going to be same as previous. So whatever I type into this section 1, and I just clicked up here, I'm typing my name, you'll see that that showed up in section 2. So I'm going to go ahead and delete my name, and I'm going to look up here on the ribbon to see if there's some choice up here that tells me I don't have to be linked to the previous. So this is same as previous. If I unlink, right, that same as previous for my header went away. So now if I type my name up here in header 1, right, it's no longer showing up in header 2. And that's great because, double click right there and let's get rid of that, because I don't want anything on the title page other than the title. And I probably don't want anything here on my table of contents page other than table of contents. And I really want things to start over here, right? So I'm going to close this for a second. And I'm going to go up and show my non-printing characters, and right there I have a page break, and you can kind of see that, right? And I'm going to choose to go to Insert Break, and I'm going to create a new section break. And so if I scroll out of my document, I should have a blank page there, and I'm going to get rid of that by just delete and then go back to a little bit more. So I'm right kind of at the introduction right here. That's where I want my cursor be, and hit delete and delete. And you can see I kind of lost my formatting when I did that for whatever reason. And I'll go delete once more. And then that last one right up there, that's in my headers, and I want to reapply style 1 to that, or heading 1 to that. And so don't confuse, by the way, I just mentioned that, don't confuse headers, right? There's a header and then there's a heading. Right? Don't confuse your style heading with your headers. So now I have 3 sections. I have section 1, section 2, and I have section 3, which now section 3 is saying same as previous. So I'm going to go to my header footer ribbon and take link to previous off. And then down here I have 3 sections, and I'm going to go and I'm going to unlink section 2 from section 1. I'm going to unlink section 3 from section 2. And so now they're no longer same as previous. So I could start to put things in here, and I'm not going to have it show up on my title page nor on my table of contents. So what I want to put in, I could put in, zoom in on my footer, that's section 3, there's section 1, section 2, section 3 header. I'll type my name, and then I could hit tab to go to like the middle section. So I hit tab to go to the middle section, and that's the character for tab, that little arrow. And I could look at my header footer ribbon here, and I could see what I want to put in. Here are these crappy templates, which I recommend you never use. But here's page number, here's date, here's time, right? Different first page. I don't need to worry about those because I'm just applying this to one section. So the different first page, different odd and even pages I might use if I wanted to use that. And then here I could position it a little bit. I think maybe I'll try inserting the date, and then I'll hit tab once more and I'll insert page and put in page number. And you saw I put in a vertical line there, and the vertical line is a keystroke that not a lot of people know about, and that is holding down shift, and then over underneath your delete key you'll see there's a character there that's a vertical line. So I put in that vertical line, and so now when I look at my document, I don't have anything on the title page. I don't have anything on the table of contents page, and this is where they start. And it's starting on page 3. Well, can I change that? That's really like the last challenge for me. Can I have this start, this first page of the paper actually be page 1? So I'm going to zoom in on that and zoom in on that. There's my page 3. So that's what I want to be page 1. I'm going to try right-clicking it and see what happens. And you might think bullets and numbering. No, nothing's there. Right-click again, update field, and you notice I got a slightly different list, it seemed like. And if I just keep playing with this, you know, it's not really, so that looks again like a slightly different list, but I don't see anything in there about changing my page number. So with that highlighted, maybe if I come over here and choose page number again, it just puts in page number once more. So this is one of these things about Microsoft Word where you just sort of have to keep playing with it to see if you could get it to work the way you want it to work. What about if I choose that? And there it kind of gave me an option, right? Like I had that sort of selected, and I went to page number and it brought me in here. And show number on first page, well, I don't know. We'll leave that the way it is because it's already set to that. But I'm going to try starting at 1 and hit OK. And now it changed that to 1. And you might be asking, God, Todd, how do you know how to do that? And like I said, I was just banging around. It wasn't working the way I wanted it to work. And I just had to keep fooling with it. And so I wanted you to see that process of like, well, right-clicking, which is often a very good choice. It's not giving me the options I want. Well, you know, coming over here and hitting page number, why that's highlighted, right? Nope, didn't give me the options I wanted. Coming over here, document elements, and then hitting page number, you know, and then finally it got me into that deal. And all right, well, I don't really want it on my title page, but maybe it's thinking the first page is this first page I'm on. So the last and ultimate test is see, is it on my title page? And I could scroll up and here, oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. I'm going to close my header and footer, and I'm going to turn off these guys right there so we could actually really see, okay, there are my first 2 pages. Here's my next page, and there's page 1, page 2. And notice that it still says starting on page 3. So what happens now when I update this table, update the entire table? It recognizes that that's page 1. So how smart is that? That's like pretty cool. And of course, just for the last little thing, icing on the cake, if I wanted to add something up in my header, I could just double click up here in the header. And again, the main thing I'd be looking for when working with these headers is making sure that this doesn't say same as previous, because if it does and I type something here, it shows up there. If I type something here, it shows up there. So I want to really make sure that I go and unlink this link to previous, and then anything I type up here will be my headers for the rest of the document. So if this is like a class, I might type in, you know, how to use MS Word, Professor McDonald, Tuesday, Thursday, 3 p.m. That way, if you know the professor ever had all of his papers blow out in the wind, he'd be able to pick up at least mine and see, you know, okay, which class was this from, whose is it, what pages are they, and that might be something that would be included, or whatever you might want to include up there. But you can see our document's really starting to shape up and look good, and we're doing some amazing stuff here and learning some great things. I hope that you are getting a lot of value out of this. So here we could see that paper we started out with where we were saying, hey, this is what we're going to create in this series of videos, and we've really gotten pretty close to recreating this paper. We have a title page, we have a table of contents, we have headers and we have footers, we have the page numbers, we have works cited, we have references within our document, and we've seen how we manage references to really take care of our citations and how we could switch between APA, MLA, and all of that stuff. And the next thing we really need to take a look at is putting in pictures. And before I show you how to insert pictures, I just want to take a moment to talk about content and form. Content and form is really pretty dang essential and amazing, and something you absolutely need to know about. And if you Google content and form, you could read about some of the different stuff that is out there. But what exactly is form and content? So in art, they talk about this a lot in art, like there's content in there and there's form. They talk about this a lot in a lot of different areas, and it actually applies to so many different things in life, because whether it's art or whether it's like programming web pages or whether it's dressing for success, content and form is really about the content and then the form that the content takes. So what does that mean? This is a saying that I really like. There is what is said and there is how it is said. So let me ask you a question. What's more important, what's said or how it is said? And when they study this, because I used to teach business communications at the university as an adjunct instructor, but when I was younger, but when they study this, what's more important isn't the content. It's not what is said. What's more important is how something is said, the form that it takes. So basically what that tells us is that somebody could be telling us crap, but if they say it to us in an amazing way, right? Like if they deliver it, they have great delivery. If the form is fantastic, we're going to give so much more meaning and value. Like we approve of that. Like 80%, 70, 80% of the value and meaning we get from a public speaker is from how they say something, not what they say. And likewise, you could have somebody who's talking who has amazing content, but if they're very dry and monotone and boring and they just do, you're like, I am tired of listening to that. I don't want to listen to that anymore, right? And so of the two, content and form, form is often more important than content. And I'm talking about this because we're going to get into adding pictures. And when we are conveying content, so here we have some content, and the content is the text on the page. These are the ideas. This is the content. And the form that we've given it is having a nice title page, having a nice table of contents, having good headers and footers, having nice works cited, right? Like we're putting this paper into good form so it looks good. And even adding pictures in is going to add value to that. Now you'll have to determine for the type of document you're creating, who is my audience and what do they expect, and is something appropriate or not appropriate. So for certain situations, certain types of papers you'd write for certain professors and journals and things like that, pictures wouldn't be quite as appropriate. For other professors, for business reports, for a book that you're writing, pictures might be just the thing. And pictures can really enhance the form that your content is taking. And that's going to enhance how people perceive your document, and perceived value is everything. And so content and form, I just wanted to take a moment to familiarize you with this concept of content and form, and help get you started thinking about, oh yeah, okay, so how do I want to take the content that I want to convey, and how am I going to present that? What form am I going to put that in? And adding pictures is part of that form, and it could certainly enhance a document. I certainly love having pictures. And this was actually one of my techniques when I was in grad school, was to have pictures in my papers and put pictures in. And all of my professors, pretty much, I can't remember any one professor saying don't do that anymore. They all were like, wow, I really appreciated all of the illustrations that were in your document, and or whatever. Because if your paper looks good, then it's going to be more likely to be perceived as good and to get a good grade. So that really makes a big difference. So that's content and form. If you want to read more about it, you can read more about it. I just kind of want to take a quick look here. And yeah, so look at this image here, right? Same content, same person, two different forms. Which one would you be interested in hiring? Which one looks like the A quality person, and which one looks like you should cross the street if you see that person coming? All right, so that's content and form. Alright, so now to insert pictures. I'm going to go over to our document, which I have here 18 pictures, and I want to insert some pictures. So I might be a little bit remiss if I didn't say anything about intellectual property. And depending again upon what you're going to do with your document, you might just go out and grab any image you want. And I'm sure you've discovered Google Images, and here at Google Images, so if I was just at Google, I could go right here and choose images, or down here and look for more, and then start looking through the different things that they have here. Even more, right? It just goes on. But at Google here, we have Google Images, and there's actually all kinds of Google things you could search for. And Google's like, it's got a lot of depth, and when you don't know about it, you don't see it, but when you learn about it, right, there's Google Shopping, right, there's Google Location, History, there's Google Voice, right, there's just all these different Google things. And so one of them is Google Images. And if I do that, once I actually search for something, I see more search options here: flights, apps, books, maps, shopping, videos, news, images. So you could go to Google Images and you could search for you could search for any type of an image, right? Obviously, you know that. So there's a dog. And so here are pictures of dogs. And so maybe my paper's on dogs, and I like that dog. And I'm just going to close that one and take the small one here, right-click it and choose Copy Image, and then go back over to Microsoft Word. And by the way, there's a nice little technique right there. If I hold down Command on my keyboard and press Tab, holding down Command and then continuing to press Tab while I hold down Command will allow me to switch between all of my applications that are running. And so here I could go back and forth between Word and Google Chrome. So I copied this dog, and I come back here, and I could just click anywhere, and once I'm there, Command V, and it pastes that dog. Now when I click that dog, I get a new ribbon, and it's the Format Picture ribbon. Before I show you some of this formatting stuff, the thing I just wanted to point out is you need to be careful about, if you take an image, that'd be the same thing as like maybe taking somebody's, if you're writing a paper, it could be like plagiarizing, right? You're taking somebody's intellectual property without asking them. And so you have to be careful which images are you using. And one of the things you could do is you could do a Google Advanced Image Search. And so if you come in here, you can then come down usage rights, and you can say free to use, to share, even commercially. And then I could search for dog there. And now all of these images are fine for me to use. People have given them licenses. If you have to get more professional images, you could search for stock photography. And you'll get sites like iStock Photo, Shutterstock. Yeah, those are all nice. And so you could get images there. So here I have my image. I've got it in my document, and that's a little bit about intellectual property and image usage rights and the different laws surrounding that, and different things you can think about whether or not you can just use somebody's image. Again, it depends upon what you're going to do with it, what the intended audience is. Might you get in trouble for it? But those are all things to think about. In the next video, I'll show you how to format these images. So now we're going to take a look at formatting a picture, and if you click a picture, you get this ribbon here, Format Picture, and there's just a lot of options here that you could just click and play with. And one of the options is Reset. So if you click it and kind of mess around with it enough and you mess it up, you could just hit Reset. Another option is Compress. So let's say I came in here and I cropped this picture. First of all, let me make it a little bit larger, and then let me crop it. And so I'll just kind of come in on the dog a little bit more. Right? Well, I'm throwing away all this data and all this data here, but that data isn't, so I hit return, now I hit this, there we go, now it's cropped. That data is still there even though it's cropped. And the way I get rid of that data and thus decrease my file size is I click compress. And when I do that, it asks me, what do you want to compress it for? Like, what kind of quality do you need? Do you need it for printing, for sending via email, right? So if I wanted to send via email, I'd go with that, and that's going to make my file a lot smaller. It's going to get rid of a lot of image data, and it's going to make the entire Word document smaller. And I could do this for all pictures in the file or just the selected picture, and removed cropped picture regions. Okay, so I just got rid of a lot of data, and I made my file smaller, so I'll be able to email it or whatever more easily. So that's a good little option to know about. Reset, compress, and crop. Well, can I reset it now that I've gotten rid of that stuff? And I can't. There's no going back, right? So since I've compressed it, I threw away all that stuff. You know, some of the other options which are cool in here is I could choose different framing. So that framing just pretty quickly makes it look nice. You know, and there's different types that you could use there. So that's pretty good. I like that one. And it's almost like I want to click away to see what it looks like. That looks pretty great. I'll leave it with that. One of the main things you want to know about with pictures and images is under wrap text right here. So if I wanted, you could see right now it's in line with the text, but I could say tight, and now the text is wrapping around my image. So I can make that a little bit smaller and bring it up over here, and that looks pretty great, right? So I did that by using this right here and then text wrap. You could take a look at these other ones. That'll automatically place it where you want it. I don't really care for that. You could add a border. You could add effects. So we saw shadow, but you know, maybe I want to have a reflection, you know, and now there's a reflection of the dog, and that kind of really makes my text look funny. There we go. That looks pretty good that way. Or you know, I could do, you know, just all kinds of different effects there. So these are things that you could play with. The one other one which is useful is remove background, and then you know, corrections and recolor. Those are kind of like effects too. And I'll just show you a few of those. So we could get any of these looks here. Maybe I want a black and white or something like that. Or under corrections, you know, it shows me, you know, like how it would change if I worked with the light, brightness, contrast, or sharpen and soften. And I think that, you know, soften, that looked kind of nice. What about sharpen? I don't know, either one. So, yeah, that's images, and I'm going to show you how to remove background in the next video because I think that's useful and interesting. The next thing I want to show you is how to remove a background from an image, and I'm going to insert an image from a file which I've included in our directory, so you could download this file and try it yourself. And the file is 20_paw PNG. And the way I insert that is I go to the insert menu and I choose photo. So even though this is just an image, I still want to go to photo because I'm going to choose something from a file. And Word thinks of it as a picture, even though it's not a picture like we had a camera and went click, click. It's just an image, but Word still thinks of it like a picture. So I go picture from file, and then I'm going to browse to that directory. And that directory is in my Udemy Word Training Mac, and open that up. And then it's 20paw, and there it is. And so I just inserted that paw, and let me make that a little bit larger, and then I'll go to my text wrapping and I'll make it in front of text, So that's now in front of my text, but you can see that right, it's solid, and so that's no longer transparent, and I want to remove that background. And so we saw up here we have remove background. So if I'm not clicked on the picture, I don't have that ribbon. I click on the image, I do. I could choose remove background, and then everything goes pink. And they have this description down here, which is a little bit like you know, not too clear. But basically, when I move my mouse over, I go here, and that's a minus sign. Do I not want to include that region? No, I want to include that region. And here's a plus sign. Oh, I also want to include this region. So let me just show you what happens if I choose remove background without plussing any of that stuff right there. And I think what I do to get it, there we go, right? Like, oh, that didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. So I'm going to hit undo. And now I'm going to try that again. And this time I'm going to plus those guys, meaning, oh, also keep those, but throw away everything else around it. And now hit it again. And there I got my paw. Right, and so that's kind of cool. I could come up here and I could also rotate that a little bit, and so that's kind of a neat effect, but it's a little bit too dark. So is there a way that I could sort of filter that? And here I have transparency, right? So I could put a little paw print on my page, and if I wanted to, I could create a series of those up and down the page, and I think that's just really pretty sweet. And then when I click away, you know, ah, cute. There's a little paw print on the page. So that's you know, that's working with you know, an image, inserting an image, removing the background, and playing with the transparency. And those are all pretty cool techniques. All right, I think we have our document looking the way we want it to look. If we compare it to our original document, so I'm going to go up to Window and choose that original paper. You know, we got a title page, table of contents, headers and footers, page numbers, images, styled headings, heading 1 style, and building our table of contents automatically off of heading 1 style. And we've got a bibliography. We've managed our resources. We've done all of that here in this document. I think this document's a bit too gangly and long, you know, because I really kind of got to zoom down to see what's going on. So I'm going to grab a few pages here and just get rid of those guys and get rid of these guys and get rid of a few more, and just I'm trying to not take out any of my headings, but there we go. So right, like if this is, I'll get rid of this too right there. If this is your document, right, and you turn this in, I think you have a really good chance of getting a good grade if this was for a course, because you've done a really nice job of making it look good. Of course, you would add, you know, clean it up a little bit more, like get rid of that space right there, and this space right here is a little bit too much space right there. So those are the basics of, you know, creating a document in Microsoft Word. You've really learned some of the most fantastic techniques. These are the fundamentals. It's the foundations. This is the foundation of working in Microsoft Word, and just armed with just this skill set, you're ready to go out and do 80% of what you need to do with Microsoft Word. There's still some other really great things I want to show you in this training. We're going to learn about mail merge. That's the first one that comes to mind for me. And I'm sure there's other things. They're just not right in front. You know, some other just really sort of like anecdotal little things which are kind of fun and interesting to know about. But you've got the main stuff. One last thing I'll point out here is down at the bottom you have the status bar, and the status bar shows you how many pages, what section you're in, what print layout view you're in, how many words, you know, are on the document. 834 of 5692. I have no idea what that means. Let's go to word count and see if we can make sense of that. We have 5,692 words, right? And so I'm not sure what the 972 is, because oh, it shows me the position I'm at. So right here, I'm at position 66. Right here, I'm at position 1 of that many. Right there, I'm at position whatever. It'll figure it out in a second, right? So that's kind of what that is. And then you could change your views down here. So I could change between my different views. So anyhow, that's a great introduction to Microsoft Word, and I'm proud of you for you know, taking some time to forward your skill set and learn some new things so that you could do some more amazing stuff and put out some better work and maybe get paid more and have a better job and all that good stuff. All right, so we'll continue to learn some great things about Microsoft Word, and I look forward to sharing them with you. We have some more great things to learn, and you can see I'm demonstrating one of the things we are going to learn right here with a feature called dictation. So you could go ahead and take a look at what I have typed out by talking, or what has been recorded through dictation, and you could compare that to what I've said to see if it actually takes good dictation. And when we read this, we see we have some more great things to learn, and you can see I'm demonstrating one of the things we're going to learn right here with the feature called dictation. You can go ahead and take a look at what I have typed out by talking, or what has been recorded through dictation, and you can compare that to what I said to see if it actually takes good dictation. So that is pretty amazing right there, and that's a speech-to-text feature. And if you get tired of typing, you can use this dictation feature for, right, getting text onto a page without having to type. So I have yet to find a feature where I could do this with my email, but this doesn't mean you can't start Microsoft Word. Turn on dictation by going up to Edit, Start Dictation, and just, you know, give dictation to your computer, and then once your computer has the dictation, you could copy and paste that over into your email. That might be something I might start doing in the future, actually, because I really like talking to my computer, much more than typing, and it's doing a really great job. So there's some of the things we're going to learn in the rest of this course, and there'll be more in here than what is listed in this list right here. But you can go ahead and pause the video, and you can read through this list. And now, I'm assuming if you'd pause the video, you already did so. And you can see the list is continued down here. So if you want to read through the rest of that list, you could go ahead and pause that. And now, I'm assuming you already did so. And then here's the rest of the list right there. So those are the primary things I want to cover through the rest of this training. And we've got some really great things to look at. And in this section, essential skills, we're going to look at these items right here. And in fact, I'm going to move this one to the top with a Command X and then a Command V because we are looking at dictation right now and we're seeing how that works. And it's pretty straightforward, and you've seen how to do it. Edit, start dictation. So I'm going to actually place my cursor where I want the dictation to occur. Edit, start dictation, and there I have the dictation thingamajigger. We'll see what it does with that. And it's recording everything I say and transcribing it for me. So how amazing is that? And you can see it made a little bit of an error, and we see what it does with, and actually we'll see what it does with that, and it's recording everything I say and just transcribing it for me. So how amazing is that? It's pretty dang amazing. And that's dictation, edit, start dictation, and we're going to look at the rest of these things in this section of essential skills. We're going to look at these skills which I find essential to using Microsoft Word. The next essential skill which you absolutely need to know about when using Microsoft Word, and any piece of software actually for that matter, because this is a skill which you could transfer to web browsers or any kind of software that you're using, pretty much has a find replace function. And find and replace is super useful, and I definitely consider it an essential skill. So let me show you what it is and how to use it, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You could guess it's going to find stuff and replace things, but it's also kind of cool just to see the power of it and to see some of the options that you can use with it. So I'm going to create a new blank document, and on this document I'm going to put in some paragraphs. I'm going to use our RAND thing there to create 20 paragraphs, each with 14 lines. And so there's my document, and somewhere in this document, I'm just going to randomly pick a place, I'm going to put in my name. Right? And so when I scroll out of this document or scroll somewhere else in this document, I no longer know where that name is. And if I needed to find that name again, so I need to search through, and you can imagine how difficult this would be if it's hundreds of pages. To do that, I could go up and I could choose Edit, Find. Alternatively, I could use Command F on the keyboard, or I could just come over here to Search Document, and I could type in Todd, and there it is. And if there's multiple instances of it, I could kind of scroll through them by hitting these arrows and go forward and backward between the multiple instances. You'll notice here right next to Find, there's also this drop-down arrow. And I have List Matches in Sidebar. Sometimes these are called sidebars, sometimes they're called panels. But when I click that List Matches in Sidebar, I get this sidebar or panel, whatever you want to call it, over here on the left. And you can see right now what I'm doing is I am finding Todd, and I've searched within the document. I also have a few options here. I could ignore case. I could search for the whole word only, right? And there's something called sounds like and all word forms and advanced find and replace. So if you really want to get into the details of trying to find something in a document, you can really sort of go down a rabbit hole and start playing with these three right here. But what if I wanted to replace something? So you see here that the text I put in is this random text. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Well, what if I wanted that to read the quick brown cat wanted to jump over the lazy dog? Well, that's a lot of changing to do, to go through and change fox however many times it's in here. But instead what I could do is I could type cat right here to find, or sorry, I want to find fox, and I want to replace it with cat. And so it's found all the instances of fox in my document, and you can see that they're all highlighted there. And I could say, hey, replace just the first one. And if I do that, you see that one right there just got replaced. And then I'll zoom in so we could actually see the magic happening. Right? And now this one's getting replaced, and then that one, and that one, and that one. So I could go through one at a time, and I could replace all these. Or obviously I could hit replace all. And now every instance of fox on the page has been replaced to read the quick brown cat jumps over the lazy dog. Now you have to be careful when you use replace, because sometimes you want to replace a word, like what if I wanted to replace cat? And I also had in here, you know, we use the concatenate function. And I also had that sentence in there. We use the concatenate function to combine text and programming. So I decided I don't want it to be cat. I actually want it to be, instead of cat, I want it to be hippo. The quick brown hippo jumps over the lazy dog. And I'm going to just hit replace all. And whatever happened to concatenate? Well, now we have conhippoinate, because it saw cat in there and it replaced that. So one of the things I'd have to do when doing that is maybe choose whole word only. So what happens if I hit undo? And once again, I have concatenate, and I have the quick brown cat. And I'm going to say, hey, when I find, I want the whole word only, and I'm going to ignore case. And now I'm going to replace all. And where is my concatenate? My concatenate is fine. So that's one of the things you have to look out for when you use replace. But find and replace is a super useful tool. I'll show you two more things about it. So you've got the essential skill right here. I'm going to show you, one, how you could use it on web pages, and then two, how you could use it to expedite your review of research material. So here's the first thing, how to use it on a web page. And I'm just going to go to, I don't know, I like surfing. And so we'll go to the surfing Wikipedia and bring that up. And I want to see if there's anything in here about Bruce Brown, who makes surfing movies. He made Endless Summer. So I could search Brown. I hit Command F on my keyboard, and I typed in Brown up here. When I hit Command F, right, it brings up the search panel. And I think even if you want up here under Edit, you would find right there. And so that let me search really quickly if Bruce Brown, any mention of Brown is on this page. I could also look for Greg Knoll, and nothing in there about Greg Knoll. So I don't know who the hell wrote this page, but they're ignoring some of the great moments, great for me, benchmarks in surfing history. So one more thing I want to point out to you is, if I wanted to do some research, and let's just say I had all these different articles that I had found, I could take those articles and I could copy them. And I could just create one gigantic document of all my research, which is a compilation of all these different articles that I found, which I thought might be interesting to sort of look at. And to do this, I'm going to sort of just create a new line here in my document and paste everything in there. And I'm going to paste it in special and do it without any formatting. And so I could just do this, and I could keep pasting in all of my articles and just have it a little delimiter so I know. Right? By delimiter, I mean I would have like some sort of separator. And let me zoom in on that. And so here's where my article begins. And I could sort of separate that. And if I hit equals a couple of times and hit return, it creates this line automatically. And I could go in here and I could stop automatically creating border lines if I wanted to. So I'm actually going to turn that off, because sometimes those become a hassle, and they just get too excited and create themselves too many times, and it's hard to get rid of them. And I could get my source here, and then I would know that, okay, everything, in the next below thing is from this article. And then, when I was ready to insert my next article, I'd just go to the end of the document, and then I would say, here's my next article, and everything below on my next article. And so maybe I'd want to go look at Bruce Brown wiki, and Surf Crazy. So this is the guy that made the surf movies, and I'm going to just highlight whatever the heck this is about and come in and paste it here. And I could do that Command Control V, so I'll just try that shortcut, and unformatted text. And then the one thing I want to point out here, just so you can kind of see the functionality, is I'm separating, right, my sources with that kind of markation like that. And so now I have this one document, and this document could be hundreds, even 1,000, 2,000 pages of research that I kind of want to go through, and I want to maybe do an article on the I don't know, about Oahu, right? And so I could find all instances of Oahu, and I could replace it with Oahu and make it all capitals like that, and go to Advanced Find and Replace, and go to my Replace, and then hit this down arrow here, and I'm searching for Oahu, and I'm going to replace it with all capitals Oahu. And here's formatting, and I want to do font, and I'll make my font like bold, and I'll also make it bigger, and I'll also, I'm making it Oahu-y. And I'll also see if there's some paragraph in there for highlighting That's not going to be under paragraph. Anyhow, highlight, there it is. And now it's going to be highlighted. All right, so now when I replace all, and hopefully I have some instances, and I made two replacements were made. And yes, search from the beginning, and 2 more were made. And so when I close that, now I could come into my document, and so if I have all this, I don't even have to read my research. My first step in my research is just going out and grabbing a bunch of articles which I think will be relevant, and then I could stick in the phrases where I'm looking for this one exact topic. And I could really quickly just sort of scan through the document, and I could look for those paragraphs that I want to pull out and stick into my paper. And I could say, oh, well, this one right here, I'll take that and stick that in. And what's the source on that? And then I could just scroll up until I see the next source, and I would see that the source is right there, because that's the article I was in, the next highest source. So that's using find and replace, and it's an absolute essential skill, not only for Microsoft Word, but also for even just browsing a web page and trying to find, is this mentioned on the web page? Let me take a look, Command F, and scrolling through your web page. So incidentally, by the way, I'm using Google Chrome, and when you hit Command F in other browsers, it might look slightly different. I highly recommend you use Google Chrome for the same reasons I highly recommend you use anything by Google, because they are the best at their game right now, and they have the absolute best programmers, and they're making the best products. And so nobody can touch them, and that's why I recommend them. So that's a lot about find and replace. That's actually 10 minutes of find and replace, and I hope you love it and use it, and it changes your life forever. The next thing we're going to see is what I call the style switcheroo, and that is absolutely not a Microsoft Corporation phrase that they came up with. That is a Todd McLeod phrase, style switcheroo. And you'll see in a second why I call it the style switcheroo. But the style switcheroo is pretty cool, and you're going to see why in just a second. So I'm going to go and create a new document, and I'm walking through this just because I think it's really useful to see how somebody uses Microsoft Word, and I want you to see sort of how I go about doing things, and hopefully that just is that reinforcing everything you're learning along the lines of the more you roll around in it, the more it sticks. So here is my first heading, and I'm going to put in a paragraph. So equals rand, one paragraph with 5 sentences. And yes, I had my whatever nomenclature correct. And then I'm just going to put in a couple more paragraphs, and I'll call this one second, and I'll call this one third, and I'll call this one fourth. And then I'm going to format these. So that's going to be heading 1, that's going to be heading 2, and that's going to be heading 3, and that's going to be heading 4, right? So I've got a couple of headings in there. And hey, you know what? It looks okay, but actually it doesn't look that great. It's got that big red thing up there. I'm going to zoom back out a little just so we have a little bit more perspective on the document. And I'm also going to save this document. And this document is going to be saved as, no, not that. It's going to be saved as, this is style switcheroo doc 02. And so I've got the one there, which is our outline, and then this one here, which is the one I'm working in. So here's a style switcheroo, and you can even see it's kind of got a switcheroo sort of look to it. It's got like 2 styles with an arrow saying you could switch between them. And what they call it is change quick styles settings, which I really like my phrase better, style switcheroo. So what do? You just come in here and you switcheroo different styles. Let's say I want the newsprint look. And it gives me a newsprint look, and this is what newsprint, it kind of does look newsy, right? Or let's say I want the distinctive look, or I want the elegant look, or that's kind of interesting, or I want the fancy look. That's kind of interesting, or I want the formal look. And so this style switcheroo allows you to just really quickly sort of change some big definitions about all your styles. And it's kind of a fun thing just to be like, okay, what do I want my document to look like? Here's my one recommendation, however. If you use the style switcheroo, make sure you make a copy of your document first as a backup. So use this version control thing that I've been talking about where, okay, if this was the one I wanted to make it to, right? If I like it like this, but I want to see what it's going to look like in other things, I'm going to go File, Save As, and then I'm just going to add like, okay, this is the next version of the document in sequence. There's number 3. And now I could start making some switcheroo changes to it. And that way, if I totally screw things up and I don't like the way it looks, it's really easy for me to go back to my old version, because I could go to File, Open Recent, and I could go back to version 02 right there and open that up. So that's style switcheroo. It's fun. It's good to know about. It allows you to quickly and easily format your document. And you know, I really advise you to use styles as you're formatting your document, both the normal text and then the different headings. These are going to be the main ones you use, and then that really allows you to start doing some cool stuff like we saw with the paper, automatically creating a table of contents off of your styles, and in globally changing the look of a certain style all the way through your entire paper, and then also using this style switcheroo thingamajigger right there. So I think it's a really good thing to know about. It's one of the essential skills to me of Microsoft Word, and something that, you know, I use frequently and really like. The next thing, which is really cool and which a lot of people don't know how to do, is to install fonts on your computer. So I'm going to show you how to install a new font on your computer. And you know, you have all these fonts right here under this list, but let's say you don't have the one that you really like, and you want to go out and you want to find some specific look for formatting you know, your text a certain way, because text makes a really big difference. So I could go to the web and I could search for install font on Mac, and of course if you happen to be on a Windows machine you could search for that, and then you'll see a link for different articles, how to do it, and so you just click on one of those links like I've already done here. And I don't want to read all this, so I'm going to use Command F to launch my Find dialog box and type in Mac. And then I could see all of the instances where it talks about a Mac, how to do it on a Mac. And it's going to give you directions here about how to install your font on a Mac. And you could pause this video right now if you want to read these here. So one more caveat which I'll just put out there is that there's a difference between true type fonts and open type fonts, and you could read the difference between true type fonts, TTFs, and open type fonts, OTFs, right here. And so that's just something to be aware of, because sometimes when you try to install a font, it's not going to work. And I'll show you what I mean. So I searched for typewriter font. I think a typewriter font is they're pretty cool. And then I opened up these two links right here. And this first one, I thought, I like that one. That's pretty cool. And I downloaded it and I tried to install it. And so when I downloaded it, it brought it into my downloads. And here is Bohemian Typewriter. And so then I followed the instructions and I copied the TTF file, and you'll see that in 1 second here. I went over to my library and I went into my fonts, and I said, all right, let's put that in here. And so I put in my Bohemian Typewriter right there, and you can see it showing up right there. And I have this other area, font collections, but that's something different. So here's my Bohemian Typewriter font, TTF. But then when I went to Microsoft Word and I said, all right, I want to create a new document and now use that, and I type in Bohemian, nothing comes up. And if I go look, right, so let's just find there's that one. But if I go look at my list of fonts, I thought it would take me right to the B's. When I did that, it did not. There we go. I do not see Bohemian in here. So what I did was I went back out and I tried a different font. And it's a font that I've used before, and it's called Traveling Typewriter. And that font was listed right here, Traveling Typewriter. So I downloaded and installed that, and now I have this font in here, which I could highlight that text and I could type in Traveling. And there's Traveling Typewriter, and I can press enter and I can make this larger. And I've got this really cool typewriter-esque font for changing my text. So that's installing new fonts on your computer. It's something where you sort of have to play with it a little bit, because sometimes they'll work and sometimes they won't. And you could certainly get free fonts out there on the web, but you know, there are places like Adobe where you could spend a lot of money on fonts, and they have really well put together fonts. So you could buy and download fonts from Adobe. So that's good to know about. And one little last anecdote that I'll share with you here is, and if you've got everything, this is where everything ends about fonts right here. So if you want to stop this video, that's fine. But at one point in my life, I really wanted to be a writer. And, you know, I was. And I wrote a bunch of books. And so on Amazon, I wrote under T. Scott McCloud because I thought, well, heck, you know, that sort of sounds like F. Scott Fitzgerald and T.S. Eliot combined into one. And I'd get some brand recognition. And I put together, I just wrote a whole bunch of books at a certain point in my life. And so this is something I would do when I was formatting those books was I would find fonts that I liked and use them. And you can see here on the Harvard Trainer, I actually used that one typewriter font right there on the cover. And so, that's a little bit about using fonts. And if you're curious what the Harvard Trainer is, I just really like that title. But my Uncle Bob flew during World War II, and the Harvard Trainer is a plane which the Canadians, my dad's side of the family is from Canada, it's a plane which the Canadians use to train fighter pilots, and it's the equivalent of the Texan AT-6 in America, but they called it the Harvard Trainer up in Canada. And so after the war, my Uncle Bob actually bought one of these planes, and they have it on my grandpa's farm, and I got to fly in it once, and it's pretty dang awesome. It's pretty amazing. So that's the Harvard Trainer. And my books, I tell you what, I was going through a hard stage in my life when I wrote them. So if you ever go read them, just take them with a grain of salt. I'm kind of like, when it comes to writing, I'm kind of like the garage band of writing, right? I'm really rough, I'm raw, I'm just like playing it, like let's just play it and put it out there and not have it be all polished and edited and refined in the studio. It's just like straight from the heart, and then I spell checked it. And like I said, I was going through a really tough transitional period in my life when I spent like 5 years writing all these books. So if you download and check any of them out, know that because they sort of deal with what is this life and how do you deal with the suffering that comes from it. But anyhow, that's my take on fonts and how I've used them in my life and how you can install new fonts on your computer, and plus just a little bit more information about me and some of the things I've done in my life.
You know, last night I was laying in bed and it occurred to me that there's an essential skill which I forgot to show you. So I've already recorded a whole bunch of videos, but I'm going to come right back up here, and after installing new fonts, I want to teach you about using tabs. And this is really sort of a flashback to the days of typewriters, but using tabs is a really important, useful skill which will help you make your documents look the way you want them to look. So I'm actually going to make that using tabs. There we go. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I created a new section at the end of this document, and here's some text. And you can see this text here is left aligned, this text here is centered, this text is right aligned, this text here is right aligned, and it's got no differences. We'll take a look at that in a second. And then we have a little bar running along the left side of this text. So that allows me, when I start typing, right, I could, have things sort of laid out in a way where it's either left aligned, right aligned, or any of these options here. And I had one show up right here, which is kind of interesting. So let me show you how to create tabs and then how to fix them. I'm going to go up to this document right here, and on the ruler here, you can see there's nothing right now. If I scroll down and click here, I start seeing tab marks, and you see some of these tab marks right there. And so to get that, what we do is I'm going to insert a new section and a section break. So I'm on a blank page with nothing up on the ruler. And then over here I have my little tab markers. And you can see there's a left tab where the text will be aligned on the left and then go to the right. There's a centered, there's a right, and then there's something called decimal and bar, which are frankly just a little bit confusing. So I'm going to put a left tab right here, let's say. So I just click that, and then I come out here and I click, and there I have a left tab. I could do another left tab right there, another left tab right there, and then maybe one more right here. And now when I start typing on my document, right, I'm getting things. Every time I press tab on my keyboard, I'm going between the tab marks, right? I press tab on my keyboard, I go to the next tab, which is why it's called tab, or these are called tabs. And so I'm aligning things wherever I want them to be. And we could see the settings on the tabs. If I highlight the stuff with my tabs, I could come up here and I could choose this and go to tabs right there. Or I could go up and I believe it's under insert, no, format tabs. Format tabs, there we go, format tabs. And here are the different tabs I've set. I've set one at 1 inch and it's a left tab with no leader. At 3 inches, right there, and again it's a left tab with no leader. At 5.06 inches, a left tab with no leader. And at 6.5 inches, a left tab with no leader. Well, I could go in here and I could change these. Let's say I want my tab at 5 to have a leader of periods. And I press OK, and now I have periods leading up to my tab mark at 5. So this is just a really useful way to lay things out. And you could come in here and you could start adjusting these if you want. Notice I am not just in one row, but I've selected everything. And so let's just grok the difference of that. If I'm in one row and I move my tab, it's just moving that one. But if I select it all and I move my tab, it's allowing me to adjust all of them. So that's pretty cool and pretty powerful. Something that's really closely related to working with tabs is you notice up here you also have your indents. And so you could drag these and start working with them. And so I have some automatic indents set up here for my bulleted lists, my numbered lists. And if I came up here and started playing with those, you could see how that would work out. But I'm going to hit undo with that because I don't really like the way it's looking. All right, so that's using tabs, and that's an essential skill, absolutely, when you're working with Microsoft Word.
So in this video, we're going to look at the Format Painter, and we've already seen the Format Painter used several times when we were creating our document in the previous section. And I just want to take a moment to give the Format Painter its due because it deserves its own video because it's a super useful tool and you need to know about it and you need to use it and it'll get you out of log jams. So let's say I have some formatting like this is highlighted yellow and I want to put that formatting here. I could highlight the formatting that I want to move and almost like dipping a paintbrush in it, I'm going to come up here and click the copy formatting or what this is the Format Painter icon, click that, and now I come down here and I could highlight over where I want that formatting to be copied, and that's how it works. And so that looks pretty simple, and obviously this is a really simple example, but occasionally in Word you will get paragraphs which like, why is this not able to format to look like the other paragraphs? Well, when that happens, all you have to do is highlight the paragraph that you like, hit the Format Painter, and then come back and paint it over the paragraph you want it to be like. And that will usually fix the problem. So it's a great little tool, super important to know about, and it'll get you out of jams sometimes when you can't get one paragraph to look at like other paragraphs. Just remember that it's there and use it because it's going to help you out. Undo and redo is also one of these tools which, you can use it pretty much in any piece of software that you're running on your computer, but it's something that really also deserves its own video just because it's so dang important to everything that you do on a computer. And also when you're just getting started with computers, if that happens to be your case, it's one of those things that it's easy to forget about. And undo and redo, just like the Format Painter, is your friend. You're going to love undo and redo. And undo and redo are going to get you out of some very difficult situations. So let's say I make a whole bunch of changes to this document, right? Like just all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness. Or, right, I step away from my computer for a moment and I come back and my young son has made a bunch of changes for me. And it's like, great, what happened to all that work I did? Panic. Well, no big deal. I just remember my friend undo, redo, and I start undoing everything that was done until I get back to the place where I was. And that looks pretty much like it. I could go back one more and see what happens. Nope, I don't want that one. So that's undo and redo. And you could use these arrows right here, and you could go down the list to select many actions at once, or likewise you could do that right here. You could also find undo and redo right here, and here they're keyboard shortcuts. So you should absolutely know these keyboard shortcuts. That's just like part of being literate with computers today. But Command Z and Command Y. Command Z, undo, Command Y, redo. That's how you do it on the Mac. So undo and redo, I love them. I could write a song to them if I was good at playing the guitar and singing. They deserve definitely a poem written on their behalf. That's undo and redo. Again, I know we're going over territory here of things we've already covered, but these are things which are such essential skills to using Microsoft Word and using it really effectively and well that I feel obligated to just make sure that I drive home that these are the things, the tools that as a technician, as a craftsperson, you are going to use day in and day out to make really good looking documents. And Format Painter, Undo, Redo, those are definitely two of the tools. One of the other tools is the non-printing characters thing, which we've already seen right here. But I just want to point it out once more because it really deserves a video of its own, just like Undo and Redo and Format Painter do, because it's something that I use all of the time, being able to see these characters. So that's a paragraph, that's a return right there. Here's a tab, and those little dots right there, those are spaces. And just being able to look through your document and see, okay, what's going on with my document, right? And we've already seen how if there was a page break or a section break, we would see those. So I'm going to insert here a break, page break, and there's my page break. And I actually see my page break. So if I wanted to get rid of it, I could click right there and try hitting delete. Or if I had a section break, I'd come in here, put in a new section, insert break, section. It's going to show me, there's your section break right there. And we're going to see in just one second when I create columns in a couple of videos, show you how to create columns. We're going to see how this really shows us the continuous section break. And so we could take a look at that. But knowing sort of that this is here and knowing what these different symbols represent, and these are the main ones, the paragraph, the tab, spaces, page breaks, section breaks, like knowing that, that's something you need to know to be able to use Microsoft Word well. So I just wanted to make sure that I reiterated it and I reinforced it so that you understand that this is what this does and that it's important. That's the non-printing character, show non-printing characters. That's what that little button is right there. Another important thing which I think is good to know about is word count. And I use this all the time when I'm using Microsoft Word. So I put it under an essential skills. And right down here in the status bar, you have how many words have been written. 165 words have been written, and we are currently at word 12 right there, just to the right of switcheroo if we went to the left. So that shows you how many words and where you're at within your document. You could also get to word count by going to Tools, Word Count. And when you do that, I'll show you the pages, the words, the characters, the paragraphs, and the lines. And so that's just something that I think is really good to know about, and it's something I use frequently. And we've already seen it, but I wanted it to be reiterated. This is one of the essential skills of using Microsoft Word, is knowing about this word count feature. Very closely related to word count is something called readability, and this is something that pretty much most people don't know about it, and I find it to be not necessarily an essential skill, but a very dang interesting one. And so what is readability? Well, if you go up to Word and you choose Preferences, you get your main menu here for different preferences, and under Spelling and Grammar, I could come down and I could say I want to show readability statistics. And so I'm just going to turn that on, and it gives you a description down there right here. Just watch when I hover it. It says clear this checkbox if you don't want Word to display the readability stats dialog box after you run the grammar checker. This checkbox does not affect background grammar checking. Okay, whatever. Let's recheck document and see what happens. Yes, go for it. And nothing happened. Let's try it once more. We'll go up to Tools, we'll go up to Spelling and Grammar, and here, readability, passive sentences, 000. So it's just sort of, I guess, recognize that this is a complete list. What if we had a different document? Let's create a new one, a new blank document, and we're going to do my equals rand 1414, and let's see what kind of readability statistics we get on that. Tools, Spelling and Grammar, and so it's taking a look at the document. Word is checking it. And reading ease, 94.3, I guess out of 100, and that's a pretty high score. Passive sentences, 0%. Flesch Kincaid grade level, 2.3. So this tells me that most Americans will be able to read this. So that's a good thing. It obviously is not checking for redundancy, right? But these statistics also like averages, sentences per paragraph, words per sentence, characters per word. For readability, you want shorter paragraphs, shorter sentences, shorter words, right? And so that's something else that you look for readability statistics. It'd be interesting to actually run this on a real document and see what it comes up with. Let me see if I could find one. All right, so I downloaded that book that I was just showing you, the Harvard Trainer, and I ran it on just the first 17 or so pages, the first couple of chapters, and I have 1% passive sentences. I'm at a grade level of 4.4. I have flesh reading ease of 84.9, so that's pretty good. And sentences per paragraph, 2.5. Words per sentence is 12. Those are kind of longer sentences. Characters per word, 4. So that's all pretty good. I could work on shortening my sentences. But right here is a little bit of a preview of the book. If you wanted to, take a moment and pause the video and check it out. There it is. So you could take a look at that and pause the video there, and then I'll just jump down to another area in the book, and there we go. I'll pause there. That's it. I'll just pause right there, whatever that is about. So you could read a little bit of those excerpts of the book, but that's using readability. I'm going to show you a couple of cool features about the spelling and grammar checker. And checking your spelling and grammar, this seems like a no-brainer, like everybody should be doing this. But unfortunately, what I find is that a lot of people don't use it. And I'm actually even guilty of publishing quite a significant amount of writing with a lot of spelling and grammar errors. Because like I said, I was the garage band equivalent of a writer. I'm really kind of rough and raw, but there's a beauty to that roughness and that rawness, just like with garage band music, that you don't get with the really polished, refined, studio-produced music, just to extend the analogy, right? Or that you don't get with the polished, refined, studio-produced novels. Like there's a different kind of beauty to the roughness and the rawness. But part of that is I would write and I'd run spelling and grammar checker, and then I would publish it. And so I would still miss a lot of stuff. But running, the point being is that it's good to clean up your documents and make them as readable as possible and get all the errors out of them if you can. And spelling and grammar, while they won't catch all the errors, they will catch some of them. So it's really a good tool to use. All right, so now that I've said that, I'm going to show you some of the features of the spelling and grammar checker. Right here, you can see the first thing is I have a spelling error, and it's underlined in red. Well, when I was writing, and I'm not anymore because I just work all the time trying to make money because writing didn't pay, and I have a family now. But when I was writing, right, like I would turn off. I don't want spelling errors jumping up and sort of being in my face and making me stop from the flow of telling a story to think, oh, how do I spell that? And so I would go up to Word, and I would go up to Preferences, and I would go up to my spelling and grammar preferences, and then I would turn off features like check spelling as you type, always suggest corrections, and I would turn off grammar as you type. So hopefully when I do that little red error, that red underline will go away. So it's been a while since I've actually done that, but that is indeed how you get rid of it. And so now I could write and I can make all kinds of spelling errors, and they're not going to pause me in my creative flow and take me out of the story to think about how to spell a single dang word, right? And because it's, for me, it was very emotional to write stories, and I wouldn't want to be pulled out of that just for a spelling error. So that's the first thing you should know, is that you have these word preferences, and part of the preferences you could set are with spelling and grammar. And in fact, that's where we saw how to turn on the readability statistics. The next thing you should see about spelling and grammar checker is when you actually run it. When you actually run it, it's pretty self-explanatory, but you could like ignore and keep that spelled just that way. You can ignore all instances of that. So maybe often this would be the case with a character's name, right? I'd say ignore all instances of the spelling, that spelling. I could add it to my dictionary, in which case it will then be one of those words that never gets checked again, because that's my personal dictionary here on Microsoft Word. I could change this one instance of the word. I could change all instances of the word to that, or here's some other possibilities that it gives me. And then there's something here called autocorrect. And if I wanted to, I could go back into that options thing right here that we saw from that other way, right? So I could get to options there. Well, what is autocorrect? I'm going to show you what autocorrect is in the next video, just because it's come up and it's relevant and related and interesting and cool for making little things, which I'll show you in a second, Easter eggs or pranks. But here, I'm just going to go ahead and change shooting to shutting. and click change there, and it tells me I have a grammar error. It's a fragment. I write with a lot of fragments. That's just the way I write, so I'm going to ignore all fragments. And then it's thinking, and it'll show me my readability statistics. So that's the spelling and grammar checker. Just make sure that you spell check and grammar check every document you put out. And also you might consider when you're using Microsoft Word to go into your preferences and turn off this check spelling as you type and turn off check grammar as you type. Because often when you're in the creative phase of just coming up with content, you don't want to have to be bothered with trying to figure out how to spell a word or trying to figure out why Microsoft Word wants you to use that instead of which, which is the common one. All right, that's the spelling and grammar checker. So the next thing I want to show you, just because it came up, is this idea of autocorrect, this tool of autocorrect. And I wouldn't really necessarily say that this is an essential skill, though I think it's really good to know about, and it's also something that's, great for kind of playing a little prank on somebody or doing something that's actually kind of sweet for somebody. So I could create a new document, and I'm going to do that with Command N, and then I could go into Tools, Autocorrect. And in autocorrect, what this is here's a sort of a list of words, and when they're typed this way, replace it with this. And so when we were in the spelling checker and we were looking for shutting, right, and then when I run the spelling checker on that, one of the options is I could add that to autocorrect, right, and I could take shutting and make it equal to autocorrect. So when I do that, go ahead and close it. If I go back into Tools, Autocorrect, and I come in here and I look for shooting. Now, anytime I mistype shooting, it's automatically going to replace it with shutting. So let's just try that out. So let's say I'm typing along and the garage door shooting, and it automatically typed in, watch, that happened pretty fast. And you can see that, and I hit space, and now it becomes shutting. And so that's autocorrect. It's automatically correcting things that I mistyped. Well, how can you use that in a cool way? First, I'm going to get rid of shooting. I don't really need that in there. And I'm going to delete that. And so now I could type in Jess, and that's my wife's name. And you are the most amazing wife ever, Jess. I love you. There we go. And I could add that to the dictionary. And so now my wife sits down to work, and she writes an email, and here's her email, or writes a document or whatever. Here's your email, and then she's like, sincerely, and Jess, and whoa, what happened to my computer? And then she sees this message, and then she has to call me over, and I have to fix it. But she sees her little message, and it's sweet. So that's how you could use autocorrect to do a kind of fun little prank. And you could, of course, make it a positive prank or a negative prank. So I'm going to go in there and type in Jess and then find Jess and delete that one out of there so it's no longer an entry in my autocorrect, and hit OK, and that's autocorrect. The next thing, which is really kind of good to know about, is the thesaurus, which is built into Microsoft Word. And of course, you can find these things online, but right here under Tools, you've got thesaurus. And so I don't know why, but thesaurus always makes me think of some sort of a dinosaur. So there's my thesaurus. I'm going to bring up my big old thesaurus, and I've highlighted the word time here, and it's giving me the thesaurus other meanings of time and other synonyms for time. So if I was looking for like the era type of meaning of time, I could see I could use age, epoch, period, season, generation, or if I was looking for tempo, measure, rhythm, beat, speed. So it's giving me alternative words which I could use to help me write something. If I was repeating the same word over and over and over, I could use my dinosaur thesaurus to to find a different word. And you'll notice there's a few other things you could use here. You have a dictionary item where you can look something up. Right here, mine is not on. You have bilingual dictionary, and you have translation, and you have web search. For all of these things, I would just go straight out to the web, and I'll just anecdotally show you that anytime you wanted to find a definition on Google, you could just drop in define behind it, and it brings up the definition. And anytime you want to translate something, do a bilingual dictionary, there is Google Translate, and you just enter, like hello, and what language do I want to say that in? Why, French, of course. And it gives that to me. And here's even more amazing. I don't know if you heard that. Let me turn up my volume.
Bonjour.
So if you're learning a language,
Bonjour.
it's going to tell you how to do it. And just anecdotally, Duolingo, if you're learning a language, is I hear totally amazing. I've never done it, but you know, for free, forever. How amazing is that, right? You can learn some language. So if you're in the language learning business, that's out there. And bilingual dictionary and translation, yeah, so that's everything. All right, so that's using your dinosaur, the thesaurus, to look up synonyms so that you can find new words when you are repeating the same word too many times. The next thing, which I think is an essential tool for Microsoft Word, is using date and time. And so up here under the Insert menu, and I'm just pointing it out right there, but up here under the Insert menu we have, and I'm going to click right there because that's where I want it, we have Insert Date and Time. And I could say, all right, you know, I'm writing a letter and I need to have the date and time in it. There it is. And I could tell it to update automatically. So I hit OK. It puts in the date and time. Now, every time I open this document, that date and time is going to be the current date and time. And the reason it's going to be the current date and time is because, let's see, if I right click it, do I get the option? Nope. But if I come up here and choose Insert Date and Time, right, there it's already selected and it has update automatically on it. The reason it's always going to be the current date and time whenever I open this document is because I included this check, update automatically. And wow, look at that, it just inserted a new one. So I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that. So that's inserting the date and time, and it's really great on documents, letters that you're going to use in a business, and you need those documents and letters to be printed all the time. Like every day you're going to be printing that same letter to different clients, and you want to have the current date on it. Well, you're going to use Insert Date and Time, not page numbers, Insert Date and Time, and make sure it updates automatically. So that's Insert Date and Time. So the next really good thing to know about is hyperlinks, and how do you insert a hyperlink? Let's say I have some text here, and well, heck, we could just make it that right there. I'm going to highlight this text, and I'm going to go up to Insert and choose Hyperlink right there. And it brings up this dialog box, and we've got a couple of options here. So what's going to be displayed is a selection in the document. That's great. I want my selection to be displayed. What am I going to link to? I could go out to the web and I could find, I don't know, something happened on November 25th, November 25th in history. Bam. And there we go, November 25th in history. So I'm going to copy that, Command C, come back here, Command V, paste it in. And now I'm going to hit OK, and I've turned that into a hyperlink. So when I click this, obviously, Word is doing something. It's preparing to load this document. And now we see it's brought up a browser and taken me to this web page, and it's showing me what happened on this date during different years. It's kind of interesting to look at, actually. This is the day I'm recording this. So that's inserting a hyperlink. You will have noticed when I inserted that hyperlink, there's just a few more features, right, of the hyperlink. And so I'll just point out those. I'm just going to highlight that text and go up to Insert Hyperlink. And one of them is down here, Anchor. When you create a hyperlink for a web page, just ignore that. You don't need anything to do with that. An anchor is a certain point in a web page. So sometimes you'll see in a web page, and let me close Safari, you'll see in a web page after it, you'll see like pound, 1920 or whatever, and that would drop me down to, or it'd be 1940, right? Whatever I wanted. And so if there had been an anchor place there, when I clicked that, it would open it up right on this information right there. So an anchor takes you to a specific point in a document, and I just made that one up. So I'm not going to try to find a URL right now with an anchor in it. You could also create a link to a different area in your document. And so if you want to click to a specific location within the file, enter the name of the anchor above or click Locate to find it. So if I click Locate, and if I had headings in here, I'd be able to go to that area of the document. So let me just show you how that works. So this is another reason to use headings. So here is another area. And I'm going to highlight that. I'll make that heading 1. And then I'm going to come back up here and highlight this and say, go hyperlink, and I'm going to do a hyperlink within my document. And where is it going to go to? It's going to go to my headings and that one right there. And you can see, all right, and it's using that pound, right, which is the symbol for anchor, both in Word docs and on the web. I'm going to click OK. And now when I click on this, it takes me down to that area of my document. So that's kind of a cool feature right there. And then the last thing you saw, last option there, let's just take a look at that one. Insert hyperlink, and we could do an email address. So I could do a link to subject, right? I'm just going to type in, who's this going to go to? bob@jones.com. Subject, what's up, Bob? And so then it automatically filled in my link up here, which is, if you haven't seen this stuff, it might look a little bit like crazy computer language. So I'm going to click OK. And now when I click this, and I'm not going to right now, it will try to launch Microsoft Outlook. And I use Google. And so for my email, so I'm not going to do that. All right, so that's inserting hyperlinks. So the last thing I'm going to point out in this essential skills section is something known as restarting. And restarting is a time-tested method for solving problems, and it's widely accepted across the industry, and it's also something that's easy to forget. If you're ever having problems with your computer and it's just not making any sense or something's not working correctly, just turn it off and then turn it back on and see if that fixes the problem. And believe it or not, often it will fix the problem, which is why this idea of restarting to fix a problem is really widely known in tech communities and recommended by people who are really into computers. Like even this last week, I was at a high-level programming workshop in Java, and at one point during the workshop, the instructor was like, well, let me try restarting my computer, right? And so even right now in Word, I've got something funny going on. Like, what happened to my styles? Like, I only have lists up there, and why is that? And if I click, okay, so then I click up there. But if I couldn't get that to solve, like I couldn't get it to solve earlier, I restarted, and then the issue was solved. And that has to do a lot with the fact that computers are very complex machines, and sometimes when you restart them, it releases the confusions that they have, which could be like, cross references in memory or something like that. So just always remember, if you're having any difficulties which can't be solved in your computer, like there's something that just seems kind of off, restart your computer, and that'll help you. Just tangentially, anecdotally, one more thing I will add on here is if your computer ever gets really messed up, like you get viruses or you've got way too much stuff installed on it, you could go, and if it's a Mac, you could go Mac restore and restore to factory. You could read about restoring your computer to the state it was in when you received it from the factory. And so you can follow instructions and get everything put back to just the way it was when it came out of the box. So it basically reformats your hard drive and puts down all the software that was on there when it was brand new, just the way it was. But please note, you'll lose anything else that was already on your hard drive, so you need to externally back that up. And of course, if you're running some other machine like a Dell, you could search for Dell and find those instructions in there. So that's kind of a good thing to know about. All right, so that's the magic of restarting, and then also restoring. If you ever get to that point, you need to fix it that badly, you could do that. Great. We're learning some really fantastic things. I got some more great things to show you, like printing a document and doing some different formatting stuff, which is fun. And then I'm going to go through and show you just some of the different things on the different ribbons, which are useful to know, and some stuff in various menus, which are useful to know. So you're gaining a lot of really valuable skills, and I commend you for taking the time to improve your skill set so that you can really, accomplish and achieve whatever it is you're trying to accomplish and achieve in your life. And I'm honored that you've chosen me to help you out on this path, and that you're taking the time you're spending time with me to learn this stuff, because it took me time to learn it. And so, and I learned it because a lot of people showed me stuff along the way. So it's really nice to be able to pass that along. Okay, enough of that. Let's move on to the next great stuff that we're going to learn. I feel obligated to show you how to get help in Microsoft Word, and also to point out that help is a pretty crappy thing. And here it is right here. You got a big question mark, and if you ever get stuck, you can click this question mark, and you can go in here and you could search. Like, so for instance, if I wanted to do hyperlink, I could search for hyperlink, and it will grind away as if it was a computer from the 90s. And then it's going to bring up some results for me to look at, like, how do I go about, creating hyperlinks in my document, formatting text with hyperlinks. And when I look at this, it's really not the most user-friendly solution, right? And even it's saying here are some buttons, right? And so I'm not sure where that was in my document, and if this is even still current, because when I created a hyperlink, let's just go kind of take a look at that. Hyperlink, hyper example, whatever. This could be any kind of text, and I'm just going to create a hyperlink, insert hyperlink, and make it a web page and link to Google. And there we go. And so, right, where was that button that they were just showing me in help? Like, I don't see it anywhere. Insert hyperlink, you know, there's no kind of like, let me put my cursor up on the hyperlink. Is there any of that kind of? So when I had that there and I searched for hyperlink, finally it came back up. Formatting text with hyperlinks, right? It's saying that this is kind of right beneath, you know, some of this stuff. There's a link thing and I don't see it. So go to the web page with the hyperlinks you want to format, and web page, link in hyperlink panes, right? It's just not a very intuitive way. So I've never really found Microsoft Word's helpful. I've never really found it helpful. Occasionally I've found answers there, but that's despite the fact that it doesn't work very well, and only after a lot of digging. If you need help in Microsoft Word, all that is just to tell you, if you need help in Microsoft Word, the best solution is just to go straight to Google and ask it, create hyperlink Mac Word, right? And then, you know, take a look at the different resources that come up, including, hey, there's a video about how to do it. So that's finding help in Microsoft Word, and also just to let you know that when you use help in Microsoft Word, it's not that great. So don't be surprised if you're like overwhelmed or confused or it doesn't make sense, because so am I when I go in there. And what you really need to do is just go straight to Google and ask your question there, and make sure it's a well-phrased question, right? Very succinct and to the point, and you'll find much better answers that way.